Now, it really shouldn't be a surprise to anybody whatsoever that Donald Trump is doing what he says. Like while Donald Trump was on the campaign trail and he talked about tariffs and mass deportations, and he and JD Vance were talking about deporting naturalized citizens. I saw a lot of people saying stuff like, he's not going to do that. He doesn't mean what he says. Well, first and foremost, if you don't think Donald Trump means what he says, then why are you voting for him? I think that's a pretty decent question to ask. He won't do what he says, so I'm going to vote for him anyway. Which kind of sprinkles in, oh, you just like the racism and his antics. But nonetheless, we have to get into it because voila, he's doing what he says he's going to do, and nobody can stop him from doing this. These are executive orders. If he does so. Let's go ahead and check this out about his promise to impose a 25% tariff on all products from Mexico and Canada, which, we live in an international economy where things get manufactured here, then they get shipped over there, and then they get manufactured a little bit more there, then they get shipped back over here. Like we live in a free trade economy. That's what we live in. So obviously, a tariff is a tax on American consumers. That's what it's going to be. Wherever they ship it from overseas or wherever, it comes here, and then businesses have to pay more for it. Then they mark that price up, so we pay more for it. But oh, and keep in mind too, after Trump won, a lot of people were searching, what's a tariff? Like, oh, you couldn't have looked that up before. Apparently not. So let's get into it. President-elect Donald Trump vowed Monday that on his first day in office, he would impose a 25% tariff on all products coming into the United States from Mexico and Canada. Quote, this is what he posted on True Social. Well, it looks like they don't have the full thing, but on here at least. But he says,
as everyone is aware, thousands of people are pouring through Mexico and Canada, bringing crime and drugs at levels never seen before.
So his plan is we're going to put tariffs on you until immigrants stop coming across the border. Well, they're not going to stop entirely. I mean, that's just not going to happen. So, when you're just creating a trade war that we're not going to win, and it's just going to raise prices for people in America. But he's an idiot. So, is anyone surprised? Trump said that on January 20th, in his first executive orders, he would sign all the necessary paperwork to levy a 25% tariff on all products arriving from the U.S.'s North American neighbors.
This tariff will remain in effect until such time as drugs, in particular fentanyl, and all illegal aliens stop this invasion of our country. Both Mexico and Canada have the absolute right and power to easily solve this long simmering problem. We hereby demand that they use this power, and until such time that they do, it is time for them to pay a very big price.
And keep in mind too, most of the fentanyl that's in this country is distributed by Americans and brought here, and it's not. I mean, this whole thing is just completely ignorant. All of it is. Trump said in another True Social post that he also would levy an additional 10% tariff on top of existing tariffs on Chinese products coming into the United States.
I have had many talks with China about the massive amounts of drugs, in particular fentanyl, being sent into the United States, but to no avail.
He wrote,
representatives of China told me that they would institute their maximum penalty, that of death, for any drug dealers caught doing this, but unfortunately, they never followed through.
Okay, and again, how our war on drugs has been nothing but a complete failure because people want to get high. I mean, it's not rocket science. But this go round, he's going to impose a sales tax on Americans in an attempt for. I mean, this is stupid. This is stupid. Trump said the additional tariff on Chinese goods will remain in place until it stops allowing illegal drugs to pour into the U.S. If Americans weren't doing all these damn drugs, then none of these countries would send them here in the first place. So, I mean, I'm having a rough time. Throughout his presidential campaign, Trump threatened to crack down on illegal migrant crossings along the U.S.'s southern border with Mexico and to curb the flow of illegal drugs into the country. He has vowed to declare a national emergency and use military assets to deport a record number of immigrants who are in the United States illegally. Despite Trump's claim that drugs and crime are at never before seen levels, violent crime in the United States actually declined for the third straight year in 2023. But the truth doesn't matter anymore, including instances of murder, rape, and assault, according to the FBI. Again, but the truth doesn't matter these days because we live in the Trump era. Trump's decision to use tariffs as a weapon to fight illegal immigration and drugs could be a double edged sword. Economists warn that slapping tariffs onto products shipped into the United States, could drive up inflation and interest rates and result in higher consumer prices. Tariffs are taxes on merchandise. Okay, we know this already. So, there we go. Now we're gonna get into a few other things. We got some clips, you know what I'm saying? Before we get into China, Mexico, and Canada responding, saying, okay, well, if you do that, then we'll do it too. But first, let's go ahead and get into Eric Trump. One of Donald Trump's idiot sons, demonstrating that he has absolutely no idea what a tariff is and he doesn't know how they work. Eric Trump demonstrates in 30 seconds he doesn't have a clue how tariffs work. So let's check this out.
Through our southern border, you want to allow drugs to come through our southern border? We're going to tariff you. You want to allow them to come through Canada? We're going to tariff you. China, if you're going to allow this stuff to get sold in our country, largely produced in China, we're going to add another 10% to your tariff. We are going to cost your countries, your economies. We're going to cost your businesses billions, hundreds of billions of dollars. If you think you're going to you're going to poison Americans, it's not going to happen. You're not going to destroy our youth. You're not going to destroy our society. You're not going to destroy our families. You're not going to do it. It's going to cost you. I'm going to put an end to it. Laura, when my father sent that 20 minutes ago, I literally cheered out loud.
Again, it's not they're not paying more. Ultimately, we are paying more. But again, the truth doesn't matter. The truth means nothing anymore. So now we'll get into Maria Bartiromo. Apparently, she was not happy about this idea about tariffs. So let's see what's up.
Welcome back. The story of the morning, tariffs. President-elect Trump says he will put tariffs on China, Mexico, and Canada until they stop the flow of deadly fentanyl and illegal migrants into America. Trump is promising a 25% tariff on all Canadian and Mexican goods coming into the United States. Trump is also vowing to slap China with a 10% tariff above any additional tariffs already in place. Trump says China never followed through on its promise to crack down on fentanyl and give drug dealers the death penalty. Joining me now is Missouri Congressman Eric Burleson. He is a member of the House Oversight, Transportation, Infrastructure, and Education Committees. Congressman, President Trump promised tariffs, and this is how he's starting, even before getting into office. Your reaction?
Yeah, I think he called tariffs a beautiful word, Maria.
Yeah, he did.
But look, I think it's something that is necessary. It's long overdue that we kind of course correct on some of the trade imbalances that we have with other countries. When you look at the fact that China or that Japan has a 100% tariff on cars that are manufactured in the United States, that Europe has a 100% tariff on cars manufactured in the United States. This goes back to the Marshall Plan, back to after World War II. The United States allowed these countries to institute these tariffs so that they could help rebuild these nations. And I don't know about you, Maria, but that was a long time ago. And these countries have had plenty of time to rebuild. And today we have an imbalance. And I think that it's time that we course correct that. And the way to do that is through tariffs.
Yeah, Cowen and Company's analyst this morning is talking about this. And in the last note, he writes this: we continue to believe that countries with free trade agreements are best positioned and would have lower thresholds for relief, along with countries that have trade goods surplus with the USA, like Brazil. China clarity is unclear. President Trump coming at Mexico, Canada, and China strong this morning. So we'll see how this plays out. Do you think this is going to in any way spark inflation? This is the worry on the detractors around tariffs.
It's going to create some winners and some losers, to be fair. But I do think that
he couldn't say no. He couldn't just say no. It's not going to spark inflation, because he knows that it will. So it's going to create some winners and some losers. He couldn't just say no. He couldn't just say yes or no. You know what I'm saying? It has to be either or. That way he can be like, hey, I didn't say yes. I didn't say no.
Overall, it's going to benefit the entire whole of the United States of America. And I think that the overarching inflation is going to be mitigated by
Look at him stuttering over his words because he knows he's full of shit.
the benefit that we're going to receive by some of these trade offsets. So
Yeah.
Look, and I think that Trump was successful in getting Mexico to help in the Remain in Mexico policy through his in threat of tariffs.
Yeah.
I think that in a lot of cases,
What about Biden's policy to help Mexicans or not even just whoever's coming across the border, whether you Guatemala, wherever it is. What about that? Oh, that doesn't count because nothing matters. This dude's stammering and clamoring over his words because he knows he's full of shit. Now let's read a little bit about Mexico, Canada, and China saying, okay, well, we can play that game too. You're not just going to push us around. All right. Officials in China, Mexico, and Canada criticized Tuesday a pledge made by President-elect Donald Trump on social media to impose new tariffs on all three of the United States' largest trading partners on the first day of his presidency. Trump said the move, which appears to violate the terms of a free trade deal Trump signed into law in 2020, is aimed at clamping down on drugs, fentanyl especially, and migrants crossing into the U.S. illegally. The president-elect said he would sign an executive order immediately after his inauguration, introducing a 25% tariff on all goods coming from Mexico and Canada and a 10% tariff on goods from China. Trump takes office on January 20th. Oh, my bad. I thought they said it twice. Quote,
Both Mexico and Canada have the absolute right and power to easily solve this long simmering problem,
Trump said in a post on True Social, a platform he owns.
It's time for them to pay a very big price.
There was a quick pushback to Trump comments from all three countries. Lu Pengyu, a spokesperson for the Chinese embassy in Washington, said, quote, no one will win a trade war or a tariff war, end quote. The idea of China knowingly allowing fentanyl precursors to flow into the United States runs completely counter to facts and reality. It's the black market. It's the black market, okay? Americans want to get high, so that's why people are shipping drugs here. The end. End of story. If Americans weren't obsessed with drugs, then people wouldn't send them here because they wouldn't be purchased. Mexico's finance ministry said in a statement, the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement, a trade pact Trump sponsored during his first term, provided, quote, certainty for investors. Quote, the response to one tariff will be another until we put at risk companies that we share, Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum said, naming General Motors and Ford, among others. Sheinbaum said her comments, read aloud in a press conference, were sent in a letter to Trump. Doug Ford, the premier of Ontario, Canada's most populous province, said the tariffs would be, quote, devastating to workers and jobs in both the U.S. and Canada. A tariff is effectively a tax imposed by one country on the goods and services imported from another country. Oil is the top U.S. import from Canada. According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, the largest category of goods imported to the U.S. from Mexico is cars and components for cars. The U.S. imports a significant amount of electronics from China. Some goods are exempt from tariffs because of the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement. Trump used trade threats as a negotiating tactic during his first term. He slapped tariffs on billions of dollars of Chinese-made goods. Trump had hoped to secure a new trade deal with China, but those plans fell apart with the arrival of the coronavirus pandemic in 2020, which he completely bungled, as we know. But, Trump supporters will give him a pass on that and everything else. It's unclear whether Trump will follow through on his new tariff pledge. Well, I think it's a good bet that he will, okay, because he said he would and he can. Imposing tariffs on U.S. trading partners was a central theme of Trump's economic agenda outlined during his presidential campaign. Well, that's exactly why no one should believe, oh, he's not going to do what he says. But there you go. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course, Mexico, Canada, and China, it's within their best interest to defend their economies and to do their best to make sure that our relationship with them is as healthy as possible. Because again, we live in a free trade world economy. At the end of the day, again, components and goods are made all over the place. So, this is what he campaigned on, and this is what he's going to do. Hey, now. Thank you so much for tuning in here at Politics and Paper. If you like what I do and you support my work, go ahead and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it and really helps to support what we do here.